This was the biggest superstar meltdown we have witnessed since LeBron James in the 2011 NBA Finals.
Harden is going to go down in history as one of the greatest chokers who ever lived if he doesn't prove it in the postseason.
In 2012, right before the season started, the Thunder offered James Harden a 4-year, $55 million contract. It was less than the max contract that James Harden was supposed to get. James Harden was not willing to take that, and he was traded to Houston. Houston believed that James Harden was a future superstar. And the Rockets were right. James Harden on the Thunder, he only averaged 16 points. But then when he got to the Rockets, he jumped 26 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. You can tell he was a superstar, and he just needed to be in a different system. He made his first ever All-Star game, and he finished top 10 in MVP voting, right above Russell Westbrook. He then goes on to the playoffs to face his previous team, the Thunder. He falls short in 6 games, but just in 6 games, what James Harden was doing, he averaged 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. But like I said, they fell short in just 6 games. In 2013, right before the season started, Dwight Howard decided to join the Houston Rockets. He thought James Harden was special. Now, Dwight Howard was still a good player. He wasn't his elite version of himself, but he was still a good defender. And that was enough for the 2013-14 Rockets to win 54 games. They only lost 28 games that year. Dwight Howard coming to this team, it changed everything. They needed a shot blocker, and that's what Dwight was. James Harden averaged 25 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds, and he made his second All-Star team. This team was ready for the playoffs. On second thought, James Harden in that series, he averaged 26 points, but only on 37% from the field. And he shot 29% from three-point. This James Harden, he was terrible in the playoffs. That caused the team to lose in 6 games to the Portland Trail Blazers, and Damian Lillard hit a buzzer beater in Game 6. James Harden in 2015, he was better than any other year. He averaged 27.7 assists and 5 rebounds, and he was selected to his 3rd All-Star team. The team finished second in the Western Conference, winning 56 games, and Harden finished second in the MVP race. And then they go into the playoffs and go to the Western Conference Finals, where they fall short to Golden State. James Harden versus the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, he averaged 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in just 5 games. But then, if you look at these stats, you would think James Harden's having an amazing series. But there's games like Game 3 where he only has 17 points, or even Game 5 where they needed him most, he only has 14 points. So this is basically 2 years in a row that you can say James Harden is playing terrible with the Houston Rockets. He seems to be fine in the regular season, but then when the playoffs comes, that's where you get to see the real James Harden. In 2016, it's the same story all over again. He loses in the first round this time to the Golden State Warriors. He falls short in just 5 games. This is 3 times in just 4 years that James Harden and the Houston Rockets have been eliminated in the first round in the playoffs. In 2017, James Harden, he finishes second in MVP voting right behind Russell Westbrook. But then in the playoffs, he loses in the second round to the Spurs in just 6 games. He averages 24 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds. But then he only shoots 41% from the field and only 30% from 3. This is another playoff series where you could say it's James Harden's fault. James Harden was also turning over the ball, just not making the right reads. He was just awful that series. In 2018, right before the season started, the Rockets added Chris Paul, making James Harden and Chris Paul one of the best backcourts in the NBA at the time. They then go on to the Western Conference Finals, and they almost take down the defending NBA champions. In Game 5, with the series tied 2-2, Chris Paul gets hurt, and everything changes from there. The Rockets still managed to pull the win out in Game 5, but in Game 6, they lose awfully bad. Now, with the series tied 3-3, in Game 7, the Houston Rockets miss 27 straight threes, and James Harden missed 11 of them by himself. James Harden in this series, he was playing well at first, but then when Chris Paul went down, that's where everything just changed. In 2019, they run it back versus the Warriors in the second round. They fall short in 6 games. But this time, I just don't think James Harden and Chris Paul got along. And also, James Harden, he's playing bad in the playoffs like he usually does. The James Harden and Chris Paul combination wasn't working out anymore, so they traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook and some picks. So the Rockets add Russell Westbrook. They go on into the playoffs. This is the bubble year too, by the way. This is 2020. They in the bubble, and they fall short in the second round to LeBron and his Lakers. So after 8 long years in Houston, James Harden finally starts to realize that he might not win in Houston. But I don't think that he took it to the fact that part of it is his fault. He's not playing well in the playoffs. But then in 2020, he wants to force his way out and go to Brooklyn. And that's exactly what he did. That 2020-21 season, he went to Brooklyn. He was off the Houston Rockets, and it was shocking because I never thought James Harden would leave the Houston Rockets. He was there for so long, and he was their franchise player. He played great regular season basketball, but then when the playoffs come, that's where it got tricky. But this is how James Harden failed to win his team an NBA championship. Now, like I said, part of it was his fault. Part of it was the rosters that he had. But James Harden, he was a great player, and he's definitely a franchise player for this team. He just didn't get them a championship, and that's fine. He won MVPs on his team, and he finished top 3 many times at MVP. And you could tell by far, James Harden, many years, he was the best player on his team, and he gave this franchise everything he had. But with that being said, if you guys like this video, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe. Get this video to 6 likes, and I'll be dropping again. Thank you guys, and I'm out.